Welcome to Postpartum Unfiltered.
The podcast where we get real about what happens during the postpartum period.
I am Jillian,
And I'm Sarah.
and we are two doctor moms who were not prepared for what postpartum would bring.
By sharing your stories, we hope to spread awareness and allow other families to be more prepared for the time after birth.
Hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Sarah, and we have a special guest, Sammi. Sammi, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, guys. My name's Sammi. I'm a barber by day and a mom of one beautiful little girl that's going to be 2 this June.
Yay!
That's
All
amazing.
right. Yeah.
That's really it for me. Mom.
I don't need any more information. No follow-up.
No, really excited to have you on, Sammi. We're really excited for you to share your story with us, and it'll definitely help other, women down the line. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to start kind of like, what about like your pregnancy or birthing experience do you kind of want to discuss today with us?
Okay, so I kind of had a rough pregnancy. We didn't have a hard time getting pregnant. We had a hard time staying pregnant. So right when we first started trying, we got pregnant immediately, and we ended up having a miscarriage at 11 weeks, which resulted in a DNC. And then that resulted in 6 months of bleeding.
Oh gosh.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
was like a traumatizing experience, to say the least.
Yeah.
We got through it. And once I had my first normal cycle after my DNC, I was able to start trying again for a baby. So we tried for another one and resulted in a blighted ovum. So for anyone that doesn't know, it's when there's a sac, but no baby. So the next month, we try again, get pregnant, go for, I get my positive pregnancy test, blood work, and my HCG was dropping, another miscarriage.
Oh,
And
no.
then that's when we were told about infertility and all of that. And we just weren't ready to start that journey because out of the 3 months that we were actively trying to get pregnant, we did get pregnant. We just took a lot longer because of all of my complications. So finally, I get pregnant for the fourth time and it stuck. My husband's mom, my mother-in-law, worked at my OB. So I had a very, very, very good relationship with them. So as soon as I got that positive pregnancy test, I was going in every 48 hours for blood work to monitor, make sure my HCG was going up. And we figured out that I needed to be on progesterone. As soon as I was on that, and everything was fine. Once the placenta took over, I was able to get off of the progesterone, and then I had a perfect pregnancy all the way up till my final ultrasound. So I had to go to maternal fetal medicine since I was then high risk for my pregnancy. And when I went in, my blood pressure was through the roof. So I ended up with preeclampsia and sent immediately to triage to get induced.
And how far
So
along were you at that point?
I was 36, 37 weeks,
Okay.
roughly. It was like that final ultrasound, right
Mhm.
before getting ready. So I had my bag packed, but of course it wasn't with me. My hair was not washed, which was very traumatizing.
Always. That's how it always
Hairdresser.
is.
I'm like, I'm
Oh,
going
I'm
to have
sure.
them
Yeah,
do
for
the
a
dirty hair.
hairdresser.
This is
Hi,
not
I'm
a
sorry. Could we pause this emergency? I have to go glam up first.
I asked if I could go home and say goodbye to my dog. Because I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be home. I need to go give her a kiss. I need to get my bags and wash my hair if we have
Makes
time.
sense to me.
They were like, ma'am, what?
I'm like, no, this cannot be happening. So, when baby number 2 happens, every appointment, my hair is going to be clean,
You're gonna be ready to
completely
go.
clean.
That's what I did. I always
So,
made sure my legs were shaved because the first time they weren't, and I was like, "This is not happening the second time." So it was
yes.
constantly shaved and waxed. I was like, "You never
That
know."
is hysterical. The second time I was like, fuck it. I don't care. Whatever. No, that's
I just
not
remember
my
one of
problem.
my
Totally get that.
episodes. There was an OB that was going around, and he was just like, just doing trims on everyone down there afterwards. Maybe, maybe maybe we're in the wrong thing. Maybe it's, they were trimming for us anyway. So
Maybe. Hey. So it ended up, I get they wouldn't even tell me what my blood pressure was. They told me it was 190, and once I heard 190, I like blacked out.
Sure.
Didn't get the rest of the number. They took my blood pressure manually with the machine. We went through it like 3 times, and it was getting higher and higher. I never even figured out what my last blood pressure reading was. So I get admitted, and it was on a Monday, and my baby girl didn't arrive until Thursday at 1 a.m. So I was there for a while. I
My
had to get
goodness.
induced, which was worse than my delivery, I have to say. They had to do a balloon. So that was worse than at the actual delivery. It was
The
awful.
balloon was really?
Oh my gosh. It was a midwife. Well, first off, they didn't tell you what was happening.
Oh, that's
Oh yeah,
terrible.
I mean, we could.
So, you go in,
That.
I got admitted on the Monday. They put in what they explained was like a tampon on your cervix to soften the cervix. It stays in for 12 hours. So we went to bed, or tried to go to sleep. And the next morning I got sent to labor and delivery. And it's the nurse and the midwife came to insert the balloon, which I had no idea what it was until it was in me. But it's literally a balloon on each side of your cervix that they pump with 60 cc's of saline to force your cervix open. But both of their hands are all up there getting it in. If I could run away, if the back of the table wasn't there, I would have just been scooting away the whole time. It was awful.
Really? Do you know how large they inflated the balloon?
So they, of course, can't be easy. So at 5 centimeters, they come and tug on it. And at 5 centimeters, it's supposed to come out.
Okay, 5 centimeters. Mine was, so I had a balloon too, and mine was 4 centimeters. I was curious.
So mine got stuck
Perfect.
behind your head. So, all day goes by, they push the Pitocin, you're in crazy contractions. I end up getting the epidural, which I thought was the most frightening part of the whole experience. I
Yeah.
was so scared, which I don't even know why. It was like the easiest part.
The
And-
dog
Yeah.
was definitely narrating the whole thing when I was
yeah, like it's just
there's a huge needle. Do you feel that?
yeah, and you're
I'm
like, they're like,
stop
don't
talking.
move, and I'm like, how do I not move? My
Right.
body is like out of its mind right now.
Yeah.
So it gets stuck behind her head. They end up having my OB ends up coming to check on me, and she's like, this should have came out by now. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're 10 centimeters, get it out. They deflate the balloon, and
Everyone's freaking out, but stay calm.
Headache. And I'm like, I asked for Tylenol, which took an hour to get.
Sure.
And then we pushed for a bit. They couldn't monitor my contractions, so they're like, whenever you feel pressure down there, push.
But they could not why couldn't they monitor your contractions?
I think I'm having a contraction. I think I'm having a contraction, but I had an epidural. I'm like, there's constant pressure down there. There's a baby coming out of me.
Why couldn't they monitor the contractions?
So they had like whatever monitor on the belly, but they couldn't, like, I guess whatever position she was in, they were unable to like monitor it properly.
Oh, wonderful.
So I was trying to get my daughter out on June 7th because my niece's birthday is June 8th.
Oh,
and I'm
cute.
like, I want them to have separate birthdays.
Yeah.
I got it wrong. An hour into Thursday, we have a June 8th baby. But now it's adorable because my niece is like, oh, we're birthday buddies. So it made it like
cute.
that much more magical.
Yeah.
But, the baby comes out and it's like this outer body experience. You have 9 months of growing this perfect little human that you're just so in love with. And I was waiting for, at that point, for almost 2 years after everything. And then you're like, you look at this baby and you're so in love, but you're like, how are you just inside of me? And like, it takes a minute. It takes a little bit for like your mind to be like, okay, I just grew you and now you're here. And now nobody touch it. Don't come near me. Like a light flicks on, like a switch of complete like mom anxiety. Like,
yeah.
Sarah, you said in your interview, like you're afraid that they're going to drop it and they're not going to care for your baby, or you're just petrified. I still to this day have that mom anxiety. And it's like so crazy to explain and so hard to explain, but you're so just worried. Anyone that came in to meet her, I'm like, did you wash your hands? Oh my God, don't drop her. Can you hold her head like that? Make sure you have her properly. But like, you don't really have the words because you're so like,
it's hard to get the words to like describe
yes,
what you're feeling because you're so overwhelmed and your mind is racing. And I feel like you also don't want to offend the person at the same time. Like, how
exactly,
do I say this
exactly.
without like kind of like,
Hurting their feelings, but like, get off my
yeah.
kid.
I even did it to my mom. I was like, you have to hold the baby right. She's like, if you tell me one more time how to hold this baby, she's like, I will leave your house. I was like,
You're like,
okay,
okay, let me just tell you one more time.
no.
But it's crazy because, you know, you have all these people coming in and out of your house, visiting to see the baby, meet the baby, but no one ever thinks about the mom.
True.
Like, it
Oh,
is the
never.
most lonely time,
Yeah.
but you're surrounded by people at the same time.
Yeah, it's
so
like a constant
strange.
parade.
Yeah, like, you know, it's all about the baby. I'm like, well, yeah, I grew her. Like, hi to me too. You know,
Yeah.
it's strange. So even though you have your little sidekick with you every moment of every day, it is a very lonely thing. But I have to say, my husband was my rock, and he was my voice when I didn't have one. And I do think, one, he is a physician, so he has that medical background. And two, like I said it before, his mom worked at my OB. They were very, very aware of the whole postpartum thing. So it actually, I had probably the opposite of, they were always checking in on me to the point where I was like,
Good.
I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'm
Yeah.
okay. And then it made me question, like, should I not be okay? Is it not normal for me to be okay? But we also had our daughter. So I ended up having to be on blood pressure meds for 3 months postpartum from my preeclampsia, which, you know, they don't educate you about. They tell you you have it and you're like, well, what is that? What does that mean? What are the risks? So like, if my sister-in-law didn't have it, I would have never even known what it was. They don't educate you a lot. And they, you know, they hand you this baby and then you're just like, okay, I don't have instructions. What the hell do I do?
Well, you know what it's like when you're about to leave the hospital? Like I was anxious, but I think when I knew I had to go home and take care of this baby by myself, I think that was the craziest part to me. I'm like, I can't do this. Does the nurse get to come with me? Like, we can come in and swaddle him
I
when he's
can't
cold.
wait to get home so I can do things like in my own routine and get settled. I also couldn't wait to wash my hair. This was a big thing for me, guys.
What?
The main
Those
point of the
hospital
story
showers
is
just did
my
not do
hair.
it for me.
Oh my
But,
God.
you know,
I have to see your first pictures.
Yeah.
That is the hair after you washed it.
yes, absolutely. I could. The first thing, as soon as we got home, I was like, I'm taking a shower. And John's parents couldn't wait to come over. I was like, I need a good hour in there. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
no,
need to
you
give me some time. I need to decontaminate from whatever just took place in there. I was in the hospital for just about a week, and we were in high risk basically the entire time, which was very intimidating. And, you know, they don't really educate you about what happens. Like they sent me back to high risk after the labor, and, you know, you're laid up. I had compression socks on both feet, IVs on both arms, the potassium going for my preeclampsia, the blood pressure cuff going off every 30 minutes. I didn't sleep the whole time I was there. It was just exhausting. So I couldn't wait to get home and get into our own routine and like actually be able to like get into it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I felt like almost pressured that the nurses were over me and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I hated
but
that blood pressure cuff. Like the middle of the night. Like just chill out. Okay. Like
yeah, I'm like, and then, you know,
fine.
before the baby comes, the monitor on the belly, I'm like, who can sleep here? How does one sleep?
Yeah. So I
But
tried to roll over, but I strangled myself with all these cords
yeah,
by
and then they
accident.
come in because it moved, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Remember
But
we left Michelle's like, I
I
can never go back to the hospital. I'm like, you can't. You
Yeah.
can
Right.
never go back.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
am not a
You got
So
to
person
eat
who
sorry
that
you
has
were
stuff.
long hair.
traumatized.
You actually got a meal, sir. So
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know why
John
you
was
feel that
eating
way.
chicken quesadillas when I was giving birth, and then the kitchen was closed. I was like, I'm so fucking hungry. And we had a cookie, and he fed me the cookie. I'll never forget it. It was the best cookie I have ever ate. As I'm holding our new baby, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I
Everything
was
I need right
so
now.
thirsty and hot. It was like crazy. I was like, I need more ice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was very lucky though. John, he went back to work like literally that Thursday morning. He was rounding at the hospital, but he was so hands-on. He was helping me in the middle of the night with all the feedings. We were not able to breastfeed because of all of the medications I was on. Plus, I didn't produce anything, which was kind of a shock to me. Like nothing ever happened.
Did you want
And
to breastfeed?
I I wouldn't say like I need to breastfeed. However, I was going to try it if I was able to. Um, so we ended up having Chloe. It was, like I said, 2 years ago, and it was right at the peak of the formula shortage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that my stress of the formula shortage is what almost saved me from being like depressed and stuff with postpartum because 2 weeks after getting out of the hospital, I bought the formula that I assumed, my baby needed. And, you just go with what you know and what the hospital or pediatrician suggests. And I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah. The
I
shelves
was
were
going
literally bare. It was crazy. My
store to
husband,
So
store.
scary.
yeah,
Yes,
my,
stocking up before this baby came. And I had a good stock, but when they're little babies, you're using the 2-ounce bottle and they're only taking a few milliliters. You're wasting so much. So you were going through it so quick. So at 2 weeks old, I'm like, I need to go out and get more formula. I'm dragging this newborn baby around from Costco to Wegmans to CVS to ShopRite online, looking everywhere for her formula, and I couldn't find it. So, literally, 2 weeks postpartum, we're just like traipsing around town all over, driving anywhere and everywhere looking for formula. I had clients, family, friends, everyone looking for this formula. Then I finally got comfortable again, at like 3, 4 weeks. I'm like, okay, we have a decent amount. Now she has an intolerance to her formula.
oh
Now I
my
have to
God.
sell. I feel like I'm selling drugs. I'm selling formula black market on Facebook.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
buying formula black market on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Meet me in the alley.
I
Yeah.
I go to the pediatrician. She was exactly 4 weeks old, and I'm like, something's not right. This is like a completely different baby. Like overnight crying. She's so fussy. She's like always a doll baby. I was so lucky with her. She was so 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 easy, and I'm like, something's not right. And I was texting John. It was a Friday, and I'm like, something's not right. And he's like, I'm sure it's fine. Maybe it's an off day. He came home. He goes, oh yeah, you're right. This isn't her. Like this is
Hmm.
crazy. Um, so I said by tomorrow morning, if she's still not okay, we're going to the doctor. So we switched to her formula, a gentle ease, and the pediatrician didn't even have a sample to give me to leave.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely so upset that he was cursing. I can't believe I don't have any fucking formula to give you. I'm sending you out with nothing to feed your baby. This is breaking my heart. I can't believe that this is happening. And I was like, I'm just going to sit here and cry for a minute. Like,
Right.
I had nothing to feed my baby.
I'm sure that fed into
Yeah.
all the anxiety you were
Like,
already feeling.
and honestly, the stress and anxiety I had of not having the formula and not being able to find it and not knowing if I had enough or if we'd have to switch again
Right.
was so outrageous that I didn't feel like I got to really feel like my true postpartum feelings, or it
Yeah.
just came out in that type of anxiety for this formula. So then we were on the hunt again. Thankfully, I was able to find one, it was like glowing, one container of it in the Wegmans across the street from my pediatrician. And I was like, oh, thank God. At least I know I can make it a week,
Yeah.
And then the hunt went again. And then as soon as I'd get a good stock, then now you can't find baby Tylenol. No one could find that. I'm like, oh my gosh, if my baby gets sick for the first time and gets a fever, I'm not going to be able to control it.
Yeah.
I need to find the Tylenol. Here we go again, back to the stores. That part of it was so awful. So awful. But looking back, it's like maybe that was kind of a good thing because I had a little bit of a distraction. And I was so lucky with Chloe because this little angel was sleeping through the night at 6 weeks old in her crib by 8 weeks old. And it was just when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I'm so sleep deprived, I don't know how much longer I can keep up this no sleep because I'm a bad sleeper as it is.
Oh, geez.
She started sleeping through the night and I'm like, oh, thank God.
My second,
And
she's like 9.
that was with me having a lot of help from my husband. Like, I can't imagine like people that were breastfeeding only, like you don't have that help from your spouse. And I needed that help. And I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, I'm so grateful for him and grateful for our parents and, all the help that they were. And, but like I said before, your house is full, but it's so lonely. And I don't think anyone really discusses that. And they don't tell you about any of your postpartum stuff, like in the hospital. They're like, here, watch these 5 videos before you leave. Okay.
I didn't have any videos.
No, they just asked me a questionnaire.
5 videos. It was like one if you're gonna kill yourself, one if you're gonna harm your baby, one about SIDS, and
this is so overwhelming.
One about like being in an abusive household. I was like, what the fuck?
Did they explain? Did they explain what the videos were going to be about before?
Said, you need to watch these before you're released, and you also have to poop before you get released. I was like, okay. Thanks.
Oh, they didn't make me poop before. I didn't poop for like 7 days after I had my first son.
That was the worst. That, can I tell you, the first poop after having a vaginal delivery was awful.
Was it? Mine wasn't. I was so worried because everybody said it was terrible. My sister-in-law said it was like labor again, and I had a tear. I was bruised and swollen. I was like, oh my God, I got to take all this stool softener because I'm gonna tear myself open again just trying to poop. And I didn't even feel anything. It was a normal poop.
You're so lucky.
I mean, my vagina was still hurt and everything was swollen, but like the poop just came right out. I was shocked.
Oh my God. So I was in the hospital for a while. So you're eating like that little bit of hospital food and like I didn't poop. I was in labor. I had my epidural. I know I pooped on the table. Let's talk about that. I know that happened.
That was like my fear. I was like,
yeah, that was my nightmare.
I was like, I need ice chips. I said, I need ice chips. And I said to the nurse, I said, listen, I know I just shit myself. You need to take care of this before he gets back. Even though I know he totally watched it happen.
I had a friend, like he said his wife did that and he was mixing with the blood and he's like, I just couldn't handle it. So he went to jail and he was passed out in the
Could you imagine if your partner just drops in the middle of labor?
I couldn't even imagine. John, like I said, he was a physician and he said after, he was like, dude, that was a lot of blood. like
yeah, thanks, guy.
And he was like, yeah, that was a lot of blood.
The shawl was like, my husband was like, oh, they're gonna have a drape up, so I'll be fine. I'm like, what? I'm like,
it's not TV. You're in there, man.
Section. I was like, but it's like natural birth. No. He's like, no. In the movies, they always have the drape. Like, you have to have the drape up. It is like a regular movie, PG, dude. Like, drape up.
This is why we're here, because clearly we don't. No one knows what to expect.
Clearly not. I'm like, you're going.
Now that we're talking about that, funny 2-second story. The whole time I'm like, listen. There's something down there. I feel like I'm pooping. She's like, I promise you're clean. There's nothing down there. I'm like, I feel like something's on my butthole. There's something happening. You need to check it out. She's like, it's fine. So Chloe ends up getting delivered. And I was like, I still feel the poop sensation. What is happening? So then I delivered the placenta. It was my placenta pushing on my ass. Oh. And then I was like, yo, can I see that? It was so cool looking.
The placenta is wild.
Big. It's so big.
It's big. I have a picture of both of mine.
Oh, I forgot to ask them to show me my first one.
Picture.
They threw out my first one immediately. My second one was messed up, so they sent it to pathology.
Oh no!
It was not okay.
That's a whole different experience.
Not good.
And that's scary. And that's stuff like again, like they don't really educate you. They don't tell you like those things that you're going to be feeling. And I'm lucky because like I said, my OB is friends with the family and stuff like that. And they were very thorough with me, but I feel like the aftercare and stuff like that was, I don't know, like I don't think anything anyone could really tell you would prepare you for what
those videos did though.
Like what you go through and what
it.
you're going to go through postpartum, and like the new body that you come home with that you know.
God.
Oh my God. Yeah. How did you feel? Like, how did you feel about your body right after you got a human out of it? Because like I didn't even think about that. And my body felt so weird after I gave birth the first time.
Yes.
Well, my sister-in-law,
they
when
come
she had
and push on your stomach, and I was like, whoa, it's like jelly. Like,
yeah,
it's so
soft.
weird not to like, super soft. So weird not to have like that baby in there. And then I'm like, but how am I still this big?
Right?
You know, since it came out, all the fluids coming out, the baby came out, you know, you probably dropped 20 pounds on the table. And I'm like, but I still feel massive.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law was, you have to bring at least 6 months maternity clothes if you after. I'm like, what are you talking about? When
Yeah.
the baby's out, I'm like, back to normal. Why am I bringing 6 months maternity? She's like, no,
My
you
mom's
stomach. I'm like, what is the stomach full of? The baby's out. She's like, just bring it. I'm like, okay. She was right. So
for sure.
I
My
didn't
mom
know
told
that.
me that too. She's like, make sure you bring your maternity leggings with you. You'll need them to come home. I'm like, why?
Oh,
What do
no.
you
I did
need?
not want to wear, I wore a dress home. I was like, I don't need anything else down there. Me and this mesh underwear, that's all we need on the bottom part.
Yes.
That's why I never went to my 6 weeks appointment. I was like, no more hands up in there. This is enough.
Oh,
Yeah.
seriously. Like enough people. I have to say, I'm not as shy now. You know, you go to the doctor and they're like, you know, between all the vaginal ultrasounds and stuff with like
Oh my
my
God.
miscarriage and all my complications and everything. I'm like, go ahead, just help yourself. Like,
Yeah. Well, honestly,
anybody else want to come take a peek?
I had a dermatology appointment a little after my second one was born. And the you know, they do the full body check. So you're nude. And the dermatologist was like, oh, well, you're a parent. So, you know, and I was almost like, yeah, my body's been violated multiple times. So who cares now? But I was like, maybe don't start something right now. You're not ready for that. You're not ready to fight this dermatologist.
No, when I first got pregnant, you go for like the 8-week appointment, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm good to go. Like, I'm thinking they're gonna put something on my stomach and they're gonna check. And then I remember her taking that long thing out. She's putting like
the transvaginal wand.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a weird way to check a baby on the stomach. She's like, okay, now open your. I'm like, excuse me.
They handed the first time I did it, they handed it to me and said, put this in. And I was like, excuse me?
They handed it?
Yeah, the first time. My second one, they didn't. The second time, the tech did it, inserted it. But the first time, they just said, here, put this in. And I said,
every time I had one, they would hand it to me and say, okay, now insert this. And then they'd be like, you're going to feel pressure. You're going to feel pressure. I'm like, no, shit.
And then they grab it and they shove it up in there.
Yeah. Like,
and you're like, why was I involved? Why did I have to start that?
Yes.
I will never forget how confused I was looking at that thing. Interesting.
You're on the wrong side, ma'am. Could you get back on top?
I didn't come in for a pap smear. This is weird.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true.
It's just crazy how much we don't know.
You just go through so many strange things. Pregnancy, you know, post-op, like everything. It's just so, the whole thing is so strange, and it's awesome and wonderful, but it's like strange. And I was definitely one of my, like, the first people out of my friends to get pregnant. And, you know, you don't realize what this, like, I had maybe 2 or 3 friends that had babies before me, and I'm like, girls, I'm so sorry if I was not there for you, because I had no idea what this was like. And then that made me really show up for like my friends that then had kids after me. I'm like, listen, I'm going to be the rock that I, you know, those friends that had babies were for me. Like, Sarah, you were checking in on me, not just the baby, me. And like, that meant so much. And my other girlfriend, who's also named Sarah, was the same thing. She's like, what do you need? What do you need from me? What can I do to help you? Because it's such a new journey and it's so wonderful, but it's so freaking scary.
And the thing is, everyone's birth story,
this little human.
Yeah, and everybody's birth story is so different. Even though it's the same way for it to happen, it's like everybody who I talk to, the stories are completely different. It's
so different.
How many variations there can be to it.
Yeah, and it's the same with
Absolutely.
postpartum, and like everyone's
Right.
physical experience with birth is different, their recovery is different, the
Yes.
way they feel about their body going into it or afterwards, and then all this emotional stuff, and then like it's just taxing, the sleep deprivation and
Mhm.
all of that. It's kind of crazy. Sammy, what would you say was your biggest struggle postpartum?
So outside of the formula shortage, because that was probably, that was awful. I think I had a harder time postpartum after my first miscarriage than I did with obviously my daughter for obvious reasons.
Mm.
I was so upset to have lost a baby. I thought I did something wrong, that it was me. Somehow I fucked up. It was, I felt like I let my husband down because I, you know, did not have this child that we created together. Like, why
Yeah.
me was my huge thing. And then to have the bleeding for 6 months after, it was a constant reminder of my loss. And it was rough. Like John would be picking me up off the bathroom floor. And that was worse for me than just the postpartum with Chloe. And I think that's also why I didn't feel a lot of those sad feelings when I had Chloe, because I was so grateful to finally have my rainbow baby. I
Hmm.
finally got to hold this little peanut that I've been dreaming of. And, I think now, like looking back, I think it's my body is not my own anymore. And that's been kind of a struggle for me. More now postpartum. I'm coming up on that 2 year mark and I'm not back to where I was. But, I look at my little girl and I'm like, I will give up my body any day of the week for you. But, we're getting to bathing suit season. Let's be real. Having a little anxiety about putting that thing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that just the whole mix of all of it, like you're a new parent, you don't know what to do, you're having growing pains with your spouse, you're struggling to find formula, you're exhausted, but every night we come together and are this awesome team. And I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way. My husband and I were sitting the other day saying how we don't even know what we did before Chloe. Like this, she's like our purpose.
That-
We were great together as of like a power couple, but like now we're like this family, and it's just everything I dreamed it would be. But I am definitely anxious for number two and all the things I would do different, like setting my boundaries. And I don't need to have people rushing over to the house the second I get out of the hospital. That was overwhelming for me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
and I've learned really quickly that I had to be the voice for my daughter because she can't speak for herself. So I
yeah.
had to put my foot down. And I am very passive. I'm a doormat. People take advantage of me. I'm a sweetheart that, people see that as weakness. But then I realized that I had to grow some balls and, speak up. And I think motherhood made me find my voice, honestly.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
It's so crazy that like the beginning can have so much turmoil and you can go through this whole experience and then at the end you're still left feeling kind of like whole and grateful and wonderful as your little family unit.
absolutely. And, there's not a date like that goes by where I don't think about my first baby. The second two were so early along. It was like 4 weeks both times that, you didn't see that ultrasound. You didn't hear that heartbeat.
Yeah.
It hurt, but it didn't hurt like I was 3 days away from announcing to everybody that I am
Ugh.
having a baby.
Yeah,
And,
that's hard.
I go for that check and there was no heartbeat. And then they send you for an ultrasound to confirm that. And, I'm actually coming up on that due date. It's May 15th. So like I'll never forget that day. And like my heart still hurts for that one loss more so than the other two, like I said. But like it's a part of you. It never goes away. And now I'm having anxiety that it's gonna happen again. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
but it's all part of it. And you know, we get through it however best we can.
Yeah. We learn with each experience. And I think
Yeah.
that by this like what Jill's done with this like podcast and stuff is like great for other women to hear other experiences so they can kind of hopefully set their own boundaries without having to, especially for me, I think for me, it was like visitors were the big thing. And I don't think we talked about that enough, how it like afterwards, I would tell people like, yeah, it really did affect me. And I'm like, well, we should have talked about it.
Yeah,
Told me about
absolutely.
that. So that's why these things are so great to talk about because hopefully it can maybe help someone else out there.
Yes. My brother and sister-in-law, they had my nephew over the pandemic, and they said it was the best thing ever because no one came over, no one went to the hospital. They sent pictures, a little video, and they're like, see you in a few months.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to have visitors in the hospital either time, and it was golden.
Yeah, they're like, this is a blessing. And meanwhile, you have people coming out of the woodwork to come see your baby and to come visit maybe like when you're at work. And I'm like, yo, you should want to see me just as much as you want to see that baby. So you're gonna wait until I'm there.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. But you definitely have to speak up and be their voice, even if it's hard, or even if you hurt people's feelings, because you need to do what's best for your little family and say sorry later.
For sure.
Exactly. No, this is awesome having you on though, Sammi. It's been great. You've given us a lot of insight. And again, like everybody's stories are so different and yours is definitely one that can help others. And we appreciate you, coming on here and talking about it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to actually be able to talk. And, you go through having a miscarriage and having a baby and stuff, and you don't realize how many people also went through that. So once people find out, I didn't realize like I'm not the only, you feel like you're the only one. You're not. Almost
Yeah, it
all
definitely
of my
helps open up a
coworkers
conversation.
Yeah, all of my coworkers have had some type of miscarriage or this or that. One had a stillborn, and it's like, oh my gosh, like just no one talks about it. So it's great to get the words out there and to find other people going through the same thing and to be able to help each other. So if anyone ever wants to reach out talking about anything, my door is always open.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sammi.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you for listening to Postpartum Unfiltered.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, comment, or leave a review.
You can follow us on Instagram at postpartum.unfiltered.
If you feel called to share your postpartum experience, please contact us on Instagram or at drjilliancampbell.com.